Nick Darr here with Big Z Media. Hope you enjoy the episodes of Business Over Brew, and pleased to have the Riverbend Growth Association as the sponsor of this program. Our missions are kind of the same. Really, we're attempting to educate people about business, foster business in the Riverbend community. The Big Z has been a member of the Growth Association forever, probably back to our inception as a company almost. We have always been members of the Growth Association, have gotten a lot of benefits from it. There's so many networking opportunities you can take advantage of. I've met so many great people just because I've been a member of the Growth Association and taken advantage of all the events that they have, plus just some of the resources they provide you, the relationships you build, just lots of great reasons to join the Growth Association. They do a lot of great things in the community as well. They highlight a different nonprofit every month. So really, they're just invested in the community here, and especially the small business community, which is what Business Over Brew is really all about, which is helping the small business community, because it's so important to any community to have a thriving business community. And the Growth Association has really helped with that. If you want more information about joining or events that might be coming up, they have events all the time that you should definitely take advantage of. I'm going to give you the website to go to. Just head to growthassociation.com. You can get a membership directory. You can see who's taking advantage of it. You can see about the events that are there, learn more about possibly becoming a member, or if you already are a member, you can find out what's going on with the Growth Association at growthassociation.com. So just again, big thank you to the Riverbend Growth Association for sponsoring Business Over Brew. Welcome to Business Over Brew. Nick Darr here with you. Very pleased to be joined by a person I've interviewed a couple times, but never on this show, Dr. Ken Trzaska, Lewis and Clark. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, to good coffee. So just pleasure to be here, and always great to talk with you and share all the great things happening at LC.
Well, for those that don't know, just talk a little bit about your journey to, becoming president of Lewis and Clark and how that all transpired.
So I mean, prior to being at Lewis and Clark, I was president at Seward County Community College in Liberal, Kansas, southwestern corner of Kansas. Sort of when you think Kansas ends, there's another 2 hours, and then there's Liberal. So was there a little over 5 years. Before that, I was in Michigan for a little over 6 years. Before that was actually in this area. I was at St. Louis Community College for about 5 years as a dean, and before that up in the Chicagoland area. Grew up in Germany, did a college in New York, did my doctorate at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign College of Education, and have always had a passion and enthusiasm for this work in education, and just trying to do good for our community and for our students all around.
Go Illini. This is where I'm obligated to say we're an affiliate for the University of Illinois, so you can catch all football and basketball games on the Big Z.
Go Illini.
Did you always know that education was the field you were going to go into, or was that something that happened later on for you?
I think at some level when I was in undergrad, I remember walking across campus in upstate New York saying to myself, I think this is the type of environment I want to work in. It was just a cool vibe. I love the collegiality of it, and actually taught for many, many years as a faculty member, just kind of fell in love with it. But the administrative side, it's not like I woke up at 11 years old and said, Mom and Dad, I figured out what I want to be when I grow up, a community college administrator. I mean,
right,
there's very few people that might figure that out by their 12. So I figured that out probably, after I was teaching for a while and talking with faculty, talking with members of the colleges where I was teaching, and there always seemed to be this weird tension between like administration and faculty, and I thought, God, I think I can help change that and just create this environment where people pull up and they're proud to be coming to work and they feel good about the environment and the culture. So that's kind of been my mission, and then by doing that, I think you're able to serve the student at a higher level if you're part of an environment where you really feel like I can make a difference and I have the support.
That is an ambitious goal, I would say, because it's faculty and staff, it's like management and employees. What are some things you think you've been able to do, and do you feel like you've been able to do that successfully to bridge that gap?
I think A is always reminding everybody that, my goal is to create the environment on our campus where they have the ability to participate in all of the work, to have a voice in the direction we're going in, to have a voice in helping solve issues or create policies that help drive more success for our students or for the institution. So that's been really, I would say, a cornerstone of my style of leadership is really trying to create that inclusive environment for everyone. And I think it's worked really well. I mean, you're never going to make everyone happy, but I'd rather have somebody unhappy in a positive environment than unhappy in a negative environment. So my goal is always to be sure that our environment is positive, that we respect all voices and perspectives across the board, and we try to create a great space for our students as well. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Period. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting work, and I say this is the time to be in education because there's so many great things happening. Change is sometimes a scary thing, but I look at it more as transformation and growth and expansion and just looking at new ways of providing access for our students and for our community. So,
well, I don't think it's any secret. It certainly isn't a secret that when you took over as president, I mean, it was a bit of a tumultuous time. Taking over.
Where did you hear that?
Well, I'm in the media. We had some news stories about it.
What newspapers are you reading, man? I mean, I never heard of that.
So talk about that. That was a challenge. Obviously, it's been a challenge. So.
It's been a challenge. Yeah, wow. That's a lot to unravel. I mean, it's I feel that in recent months the institution has made a really positive turn. I think. From the very beginning, I think my perspective and style has always been to listen to the team, to make sure that I'm responding to the needs and to really the vulnerabilities that we were facing as an institution. And I think certainly, the transition to a new president was difficult. I mean, there were some issues happening on campus, off campus. Even I'll say, perhaps one might say, well, what was happening on our board and how was that affecting what was happening on our campus? And, for me, I tried to stay focused on being as balanced and as reasonable in trying to continue to move the college forward and manage all of that. Because part of it is also trying to do my best to respect everybody's perspective. But the bottom line too is that the college had tremendous opportunity to grow, and we've seen that finally since 2016, first time we're seeing almost a 10% increase this year in our enrollment. We're seeing healthier financials, and that's all because I think, in spite it might maybe being perceived as being this tumultuous sort of transition, things came together. And, I had to have patience. Our board had to have patience. Our team had to have patience. Our community had to have patience. And I may or may not have lost most of my hair because of that patience, but I think it's come together. I really do. And I think we are better for it. Would I have liked a little bit less of the drama? Absolutely.
Sure.
But perhaps as a dear colleague of mine, she knows who she is, says to me often, things happened for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I think it really did strengthen our own team and our own capacity to be really a remarkable group going forward.
Other than the growth opportunity, obviously that was important to you. What else appealed to you about the position? And you left a gig you liked that was good to come here. So.
I did. I mean, and I won't lie. At times I was like, what have I done, right? But for me, it was the area, getting back to the Midwest. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had a home in the Godfrey area for 20 years. When I was at St. Louis Community College, we invested in the area through a home, and my wife spent a number of years here, kind of back and forth from Kansas, and we kept the home and kind of knew, kind of deep down, that somehow, some way we would get back to the area, and the position opened. And I've always admired, quite frankly, the work that was being done at Lewis and Clark. I think, there was a lot of really positive growth, a lot of really interesting things happening. And quite frankly, I felt that I could complement that, if not sort of take that baton from Dr. Chapman and continue to build on that, and also add sort of my own, level of opportunity for the institution, in terms of how we define access, how we define agility and flexibility in our programs. And so really looking at what education is going to look like going forward. And I think we've had that opportunity. We've been able to do a lot of that. We just had a phenomenal guest speaker on campus earlier this week by the name of Dr. Arthur Levine. He wrote a book titled The Great Upheaval. And his concepts of competency-based education and looking at like models like subscription pay, which really provide students the ability to work through curriculum at their own pace. Those are the things that I felt Lewis and Clark was ready for, and one of the primary reasons that I really wanted to come. And I will say that we are very proud of this. We are leading the way in the state around those concepts. I mean, essentially the first institution in the state to have a full competency-based education program in welding. We've got a number of new programs in the pipeline to do that, and those programs have capacity to grow and really represent a flexibility and agility that will define us going forward. So, I've always heard really good things about Lewis and Clark. I mean, I would come back to the area quite often, and I think anybody and everybody always wants to be part of something special. So, in spite some of the drama and some of the tension and some of the issues that have kind of dragged Lewis and Clark through the news and through the media, the last, say 3 to 5 years, the bottom line is, there's only one way to go from there, and that's up. So, we've embraced that, we've recognized that as part of our history, and now it's time to turn a corner and make sure that we're here 100 years from now.
Such a long and rich history at Lewis and Clark. Talk a little bit about that and how you balance that history with, leading the way into a new era.
Yeah, so college, Monticello College, all women's college, dates back to 1838. And we have this amazing main complex on campus, and that's really kind of the symbol that anybody who's ever been on that campus, it's the heart of the campus. And so, one of the things is, that we're really proud of, and talk about this balance, is we have a $50 million investment going into that main complex to reimagine that space. But in doing so, it's balancing the history of our institution with the future of our institution. What do classrooms look like? What do spaces look like? How are we going to engage our community in new ways in that building, in that facility? But I also feel that, as much and as important as it is to move forward and to evolve as an institution, we are really grounded in a rich history, which is about access and which is about support. And so, I mean, it's quite amazing, quite frankly. I mean, you've been on the campus. It's a remarkable campus, and we have architecture that's new. We have architecture that's old. We have or historical, I should say.
Right. Yes.
But I think that enriches the college experience as we know it. So, yeah.
You've been at it a while in the industry anyway. Talk about just some of the changes. I mean, gosh, not just COVID, but just how employees, staff have changed, and how has your management style evolved over the years?
Yeah, I would say for me, maybe start with management style. I think my style is, I would hope, has stayed consistent, but it's just become sort of deeper and more meaningful in how I apply my style. For me, it's a pretty simple philosophy. Everybody has a seat at the table, and I kind of joke that everybody has that RSVP, and they can call it in whenever they want. I've got an idea, I've got a perspective that I want to share. And I always feel when there's buy-in from the team, and again, like I said earlier, you can't make everybody happy, and if you try to do that, then you ultimately, I think, clog up your ability to be progressive in the sense of moving things forward. But you have to be able to provide that opportunity for folks. I think for me is just being a great team player as president, and not being the kind of person where somebody looks at you and, oh my gosh, it's the president.
Right.
But it's like, oh, it's the president, and having an invitational sort of tone or approach to the work, where, how can I help you? What is it that you need to better do the work that you're doing to serve our students? So I think that's always been kind of in my leadership DNA. I think in terms of COVID and kind of what this last 2 or 3 years has really done for the institution is it's opened our eyes, and it's planted some seeds in shifting our mindset to frankly being more flexible. I mean, the argument is that things were going to change anyway. It's sort of like entertainment. I really look at the work we do as sort of the Netflix model. It's like, you pay for time to learn competencies, and you can move at a pace that you want to. You can do it when you want to. And that's ultimately where we're beginning to shift as an institution. And in doing so, that means that our team is not in any way, shape, or form abandoning the traditional pathway of this work,
right,
but we're adding another access point. It's like, where we're at today, if we add another door or we add another way to get here, it's now maybe opening up a way for an audience that we wouldn't typically have served, because now there's a way that they can get in and access what we do. And so I think COVID sort of prompted a little bit of an acceleration toward thinking about education in some new ways, and that's exciting, and it's exciting. And the interesting thing too is as I say this, not lightly, but our team is really knocking it out of the ballpark. I mean, and we're leading the way. And this is not just coming from me. This is coming from other leaders across the state. This is coming from individuals who visit our campus, coming from areas or campuses where they're thinking about how they can change, or they're thinking about, I'll give you an example. Somebody told me recently they were at a campus in another state, and they're still trying to convince faculty that online is important, and we're a couple generations ahead of that. But think about
right,
that.
yeah.
I mean, that's come on.
A little staggering.
Right. So, but I mean, I think you just have to be open to new possibilities as educators, and not be afraid of that, and be okay with a little bit of failure in order to, make bigger, bolder steps forward. That ultimately is going to help you become a more relevant and sustainable organization. And, right. So, and I also think with the team too is just flexibility for our team. Being able to respect and honor the fact that we all have lives outside of this work, and we want to be able to support that. And I think that's also something that COVID kind of lent us in terms of helping us look at policies different, like remote work, et cetera, where we can find a balance and support our team so they can better support our students.
Just a couple minutes left, but that sounds like a pretty easy story to sell to prospective students and faculty.
But we're human, right?
Sure.
A buddy of mine once told me, he goes, when you deal with people, it's complicated, and we always
right.
deal with people. So I think it's a matter of how you frame things, how you reinforce your support for people and the team, and you really have to be deliberate and intentional with what you're trying to do, and always be willing to support and help, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But again, you're always going to have those folks that are like, well, I don't really know, and the goal for me is always to get them to loosen up those arms a little bit, say, I'm willing to try this now,
right.
and then we begin that journey.
What are some daily habits that you have personally that just things that either if you don't do them, you just don't feel the same, or things just like this has to happen every day?
Yeah, so I get up in the morning and I literally spend about a half hour just alone, just kind of silent, maybe do a little meditation, a little yoga, and just and for me that's nothing special. I don't sit any crazy way, or it's just quiet, and I also feed the birds. Give them some water, and it's just sort of this therapeutic thing,
right.
and then because once the day starts, it's like this barreling forward of goodness, but it's chaotic sometimes, and you got things coming from you at 100 different levels, and I always like to think, I want to be responsive to everybody, and I want to make sure people know that I'm accessible and that I support them no matter how busy I am, because we're all busy. But for me, I've got to have that time at the beginning of the day, kind of just reflecting as a person, and then I also do that at the end of the day.
Right.
And I love to walk and run and love the outdoors, and I try to read quite a bit and write, and all sound really great, but it's just you have to be disciplined in having that balance. Right. Otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy.
I spend a lot of time alone too, but that's not my choice. So
yeah.
I know you're really proud of the rebrand of
yeah, we didn't even get to that. The rebrand,
thing, so.
That was a little over a year process, and really proud of the team for, a lot of work. We did a lot of engagement with the community, with our internal team. We worked with the consultant who helped with that. But yeah, that's really, again, part of kind of refreshing our identity a little bit, and beginning to kind of look at this new generation of LC, and we're really excited about where we're going. It's just really exciting. Yeah, and kind of fired up about it. So
Last
go.
question. We could go on and on, but last question is, how do you see the role of the college within the community and being more than just an educational institution? But there's a lot more that you guys do, I know.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a ton of continuing education, adult education.
Right.
You know, we have our NGREC, National Great Rivers Research Education Center, which focuses on research and policy related to, you know, the Mississippi River and watersheds. But I think for us is we are an extension of the community, and the community is an extension of us. And I think that means that we are strong partners with one another, and we want to respond to the needs of our community, whether it's the workforce, whether it's, you know, a certain part of our community, a certain population in our community. What can we do to better serve them and help them move forward in their lives? And I think that has got to be kind of our tireless work every day, and just kind of, you know, for us. So the community out there knows that we focus really on four things. The first is, you know, our first key direction, which is part of our strategic plan, is to focus on obviously enrollment and growth and ultimately access. Like how do we become more accessible? Mm-hmm. The second is curriculum and program development, and being sure that maybe to the point of community is we have to make sure that we're doing things that are relevant. We're always going to have the core, but at times we may need to adapt and be more flexible with what we're offering and how we're offering it. And then the third, and probably most important, is our culture on campus. And our third focus is to always make sure that we're building and growing a very strong, transparent, and collaborative culture. Because without the culture, I mean, we can have the best ideas and the best strategy, but without the right culture, the right foundation, none of that stuff really works. And then finally is what you brought up, is community mm-hmm. partnership and engagement. So we're an extension of that community through the partnerships that we build and through the partnerships that we sustain. So all of those key directions working together through a series of initiatives and goals has really helped, I think, elevate our team and elevate, I think, our capacity to be quite an amazing institution, even beyond what we are. So exciting.
Well, outside looking in, it was a tough job. It's a tough position under the best of circumstances, and I just want to say I think you handled it all extremely gracefully, and the community is lucky to have you here. So thanks for coming on the show.
Cheers,
Appreciate
my
it.
friend. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.